Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Coach Matt, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to throw the two most basic throws in Ultimate Frisbee, the backhand and the forehand. The forehand will also be called the flick because of the motion that you use when actually throwing it. So if I use forehand and flick, they are the same thing. Don't get confused by the two. Alrighty, so the first throw we're going to learn is the backhand. We're going to start off with how to grip the actual Frisbee itself. What you're going to do, you're going to take your dominant hand or your throwing hand, and you're going to take your four main fingers and you're going to grip the inside rim of the disc. You want to have your knuckles bent, and then you want your thumb to be placed on top. On just about every Frisbee, there are what are called flight rings, so you're going to want your thumb to rest right on top of those. If you are a beginner and you're struggling to throw this way, what you can do to combat any difficulties you have, you can take your index finger, your pointer finger, and put it on the rim of the disc. This will help with stability, but down the line you're going to want to try and bring it back in underneath the disc because it's a lot more power behind your throw if you do it that way. Additionally, if you have smaller hands and the disc seems too big in your hand, you can take your middle finger and your ring finger and point them outward a little bit towards the middle of the disc. It'll help with stability and making sure that the disc stays flat when it's flying through the air. Alrighty, now that you have the grip down, what you're going to want to focus on is snapping your wrist when you're completing your throw. The more spin you have on the disc, more rotation on it, the better it'll fly through the air. If there's wind that could possibly make the disc go flying in a different direction, the more spin you have on it, the better it's going to go in the direction that you want it to go. So to make sure of that, you're going to want to have your palm of your hand facing backwards for the majority of the throw, and on your release you want to snap your wrist and basically make this motion. So you're going to want to go through and snap your wrist and release right around there. If you are having difficulty getting enough spin on the disc, what I recommend is taking your arm, instead of starting here and flicking your wrist, you can curl your hand and the disc in a little bit more, like you're cradling it, because that'll add just a bit more rotation on the disc itself to make sure that you get enough spin that you possibly need. Now the next thing to focus on is your upper body, mostly from your shoulder all the way down to your fingers. So what you're going to want to do, now that you're in your position and you're throwing across your chest, you're going to want to try and lead with your elbow, then follow through with your wrist, and then eventually the back of your hand will be at the front of your body, and that's when you snap your wrist and release the disc. You want to keep the disc level all the way through your motion. You don't want to start up high and then go low. What that'll create is what is called an air bounce. That is actually a trick throw in Ultimate Frisbee, and it's good for a very, 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 very small amount of situations. So you want to focus on keeping your body, your arm level all the way through to the final release point. Alrighty, now that you have the basics down, we're going to be talking about body positioning next. Just like in basketball, you're allowed to have a pivot foot so that you are not to travel with the disc. What you're going to want to do in establishing a pivot foot, whatever your throwing hand is, i.e. mine is my right hand, your opposite foot will be the foot that is stationed and stuck to the ground. That'll be your pivot foot. So I'm right-handed, so my left foot will be stuck to the ground if I am rotating and pivoting around in a game. So now that you have your pivot foot established, to start the backhand throw, you're going to take your throwing side foot and you're going to step across your body to the other side. When you're doing this, you want to step forward a little bit as to not have your feet both in a straight line, which limits your balance overall. So you're going to want to step across your body and forward a little bit. So you have your stability and you're avoiding any defenders that are possibly in your way. Now that you're in this position, the next part is all about your core. So the further back that you reach on your back swing, let's say, the further back you reach, the more torque and more power is created from your hips and your core all the way through to your hand as you release the disc. A big mistake for starting out players is having your arm, when you're throwing the disc, reach all the way out, a big sweeping motion across your chest. You want to try and limit that as much as possible. The best way to do it is to focus on reaching back and throwing it through your chest. You want it to be in a straight line from back here all the way to your release point up here. Alrighty, the last point of the backhand is your follow through. So what you're going to want to do when you're in the correct position and you step forward, when you follow through, you don't want to swing your arm all the way back out to the other side. As soon as you release it, you want to snap your wrist and stop right there. That'll cause more spin on the disc, and it'll stop it from flying in a different direction that you don't want it to go into. Alrighty, so now that you have the basics down, I'm going to demonstrate how to do all of the motions all the way from your feet to your final release. So you're going to sit yourself, I'm going to put that down. Set yourself, set your pivot foot, step across your body, step forward a little bit when you do so. You're going to want to twist backwards. You're going to lead with your elbow, follow with your wrist, and then the back of your hand. As the back of your hand hits the front, snap your wrist. So this is it all the way through. Remember to throw through your chest on your way to throw the disc. Here it is again. Alrighty, here's a closer up angle and one from the side. So I'm going to be throwing in this direction. This is just a different angle so you can get a better understanding of how you want your disc to stay level all the way through your throw. So put that down. So you're going to want to step across and lead and go all the way through. Here it is again. Step across, reach back, lead all the way through. You want to keep it as level as possible. Start off by throwing it from your chest. And eventually when you get better and you're in more game-like situations, typically the best throw comes from anywhere from like mid-thigh to your belly button. So somewhere around here. So you're going to want to lower your body position a little bit, but that'll come with time. For now, just focus on throwing it through your chest and keeping it on a level plane. Alrighty, now that you've learned how to properly throw a backhand, we're going to talk about the other most important throw in Ultimate Frisbee, which is the forehand, or also known as the flick. What we're going to start off with is talking about the grip. So the grip is a bit different than the backhand itself. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to place your middle finger of your throwing hand on the rim of the disc right in here, and then your pointer finger will be flushed up against your middle finger, and you want to have this kind of grip, a nice tight hand grip on the disc. Just like with the backhand, you're going to want your thumb to be on the flight rings on the top. A little tip to make sure that you're doing everything correctly and gripping it correctly. Right in here in the crease of your hand, there should be no space between the disc and your hand itself. It should be flushed up against there and nice and tight. Focus on keeping your hand tight but your wrist loose. So you're not going to want the disc to be flopping out of your hand like this. So you want to have a nice hard grip, and you're going to want your wrist to do all of the motion. Alrighty, next point we're going to focus on is your elbow. Just like for the backhand, you're going to lead with your elbow with the flick or forehand. When you are throwing with the disc, you're going to lead with your elbow, and then the rest of your arm from elbow all the way up to the disc is going to snap like a whip. So from this angle, you're going to want to go backwards and lead with your elbow. It's just like a major league pitcher, if you've ever seen them throw a pitch in slow motion. When they go back, they throw like this, and their elbow is very far ahead of their arm. And that causes the whipping motion and adds to the speed and velocity of the baseball itself. Same idea here with Frisbee. Okay, another point involving the elbow. You're going to want to keep your elbow off your body a little bit when you're throwing a forehand or flick. You're going to be tempted as a beginner to keep your elbow in, as to make sure that you're optimizing your amount of flick on your wrist. That's good for starters, but in game situations, your elbow is not going to be right here and throwing the disc. You're going to be off your body even just a little bit. I say at the max it would be about to here, just so you can reach around a defender. So what you're going to want to do, try and focus on keeping your elbow not all the way off here, but just off a little bit. Try not to be dependent on keeping it flushed up against you and throwing a flick. Okay, so last point for your arm and elbow positioning on a flick. You're going to want to keep your motion, the entire motion of the throw, very streamlined and very tight. You don't want to have any excessive movements. You don't want to be swinging the disc all the way around and then throwing through. You're going to want to just reach right back and reach back forward. The quick back and then the quick forward causes that whipping motion, just like your Indiana Jones. So from this side, you're going to want to reach straight back and then immediately snap your elbow in, or forward actually, and that causes that whipping motion, and that a lot of spin will come from the disc. Alrighty, just like for the backhand, we're going to be talking about bodying positioning for the flick or forehand. Just like for the backhand, you have to establish a pivot foot. It will remain the same foot, so I throw with my right hand, so my left foot is my pivot foot. When you are stepping and pivoting with a flick and you're looking to throw a forehand flick, what you're going to want to do, you're going to stand neutral, about shoulder width apart, and then you're going to want to step outward and forward a little bit. Just like you want to step a little forward with the backhand, you want to step forward a little bit with here. That'll just add to the power behind your throw. When you do this, you want to focus on your core rotating back, just like you would with the backhand. And then on your way through, lead with your elbow and follow through with your hand. One of the biggest things is that new players do is focus on trying to be precise. Precision is great, but if you're throwing to somebody that's 10 yards away, you're only going to reach them if they're 10 yards away. So what I like to do, and what I learned very quickly, was to throw for power first, then for accuracy. So I want to try and get as much oomph behind my throw as possible before I work on aiming. The aiming will come with time, I can promise you that. Alrighty, last point for the flick. Just like with the backhand, your follow through of your flick should be as minimal as possible. When you come through and finish your throw, you don't want to bring your arm all the way across your body. That'll lead the disc to fly in a direction that you don't want it to go. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to reach back. You're going to cause that whipping motion from stepping back, reaching back, stepping forward, and leading with the elbow. As soon as you release, you want to stop and snap your wrist as hard as you can. Snapping your wrist and stopping there will limit any follow through tail away, and also will add more spin to the disc itself. Alrighty, now that you have the entire motion and all the mechanics down of the flick, here's a quick walkthrough of how it's supposed to go. Establish your pivot foot, opposite of your throwing hand. You're going to step out into the front a little bit, and you're going to lead with your elbow, follow all the way through. Here it is. Now here it is one more time. Alrighty, now you're going to see the full motion of it from this side angle. Make sure to focus on your elbow leading the rest of your arm. Here it is again. Okay, now that you have the basics of throwing a backhand and a forehand or flick, here's a drill that you can do. You can do this drill if you have a disc and nobody to throw with. But if you do have somebody to throw with, you can practice throwing back and forth to each other, or you can make this drill into a competition between the two of you. So this drill is called target practice. What you're going to need as many discs as you have. All you need is one. You're going to need a target, i.e. a chair, cardboard box, trash can, anything that you can throw a disc at. And then, most importantly, you're going to need a wall. Just in case you miss, you don't want to have to be chasing after the Frisbee all over Timbuktu. Alright, so now that you have all the supplies necessary, i.e. the discs, the back wall, and the target, what you're going to want to do, you're going to stand about 15 feet away. You can do anywhere from 10 to 20 feet, I just said 15. And what you're going to do, you're going to throw 10 of each kind of throw, so 10 backhand and 10 flicks at the target. If you're low on discs, like I said, you can set up 2 targets, one over there, one over here. You can throw, go walk and get it, and then throw back to the other. Okay, so for this drill, like I said, you're going to be doing 10 throws of each kind. So you're going to do 10 backhand and 10 flick. That's 20 total. You're going to go through this cycle 3 times, so that's 60 total throws. Yes, that may be a lot, but the repetition will help you in the long run. So how I'm going to demonstrate, I have 4 discs. I'm going to use 2 for a backhand and 2 for flicks. Alrighty, so now for this drill, any adjustments you can make if you want to change the difficulty. So if you're struggling to hit that target, one thing that you can do is you can stand closer to the target, or you can make the target bigger. But if you are a professional or more veteran than other, what you can do the exact opposite of those things. You can take a smaller target, i.e. this child's chair, or you can aim for a more specific target, i.e. throwing it into this bucket. Along with that, and what I'm going to be demonstrating, is standing farther away. The farther away it is, the harder it's going to hit. So I'm going to be standing further away and trying to throw the disc into that blue bucket over there. Alrighty, so now it's time for me to challenge myself a little bit. I'm about 40-ish feet away instead of the original 15. And I have a blue bucket over there that I'm going to try and throw into. I'm going to attempt 2 backhand and 2 flicks. If they go in, cool. If not, something I get to look forward to working on. Yikes. Oh, does that count?
Yes.
Oh, this is going to be harder. Oh, it sailed on me. Hey, 1 for 4 isn't bad. Alrighty, so my attempts, yes, I was 1 for 4, but as my production manager, i.e. my father, said, all of them were catchable passes, so don't feel discouraged if yours are off target at all, because off target to a blue bucket may still be in reach of a human person with arms, as he says. So guys, thank you so much for coming out and tuning in to this. I hope this video helps you understand the basics of ultimate Frisbee throws. Best of luck in your upcoming seasons or practicing, whatever. And if you need help with anything, don't be afraid to message me. Thank you.